Hello and welcome to this first program in our new series of conversations with Kevin Chrisom on Milton Access Television. I am your host, Kevin Chrisom, and each week I'll sit down with community leaders in the fields of politics, business, religion, athletics, and more to discuss the issues of the day and to keep our residents across this great town informed and engaged. State Representative-elect Richard Wells is my first guest today, so let's go have a conversation. Welcome into Conversations with Kevin Chrisom, and thank you so very much for joining us today on Milton Access TV. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I can think of no greater public servant to have as my first guest on our inaugural episode than that of Richard Wells. When most residents hear the name Richard Wells, they often think of Chief Wells. And yes, of course, many know Richard served the Milton Police Department for 32 years, 9.5 as our chief. After his retirement in 2016, Richard ran for a seat on the Milton Select Board and now serves as the board's chair for a second time in his 7 years of service. And if not busy enough, a new title awaits him officially on January the 1st. That is State Representative for the 7th Norfolk District, representing the towns of Milton and Randolph. But for now, he is Representative-elect, and he joins us on Conversations today. Richard, thank you so very much for being here. We're honored that you could be the first guest here on Conversations.
Thanks, Kevin.
What's new?
Thank you for having me.
What's new? Anything?
Nothing. Nothing. My wife is very quiet. I have nothing to do. Very little. No. A lot on the radar, so it's all good.
A lot has gone on. Congratulations on this new position. We'll talk about that, but I want to wind the clocks back 32 years to when you were first starting off as a rookie cop and here in Milton, where you grew up and where you live now and represent. Did you ever imagine you'd be in this position today, getting ready to take the oath of office in a few short weeks here to be the state representative?
No, not even in the slightest of anything. Even when I ran for select board, which is now almost 8 years ago, for the first time, I remember laughing, looking at the leadership team at then, Linda Lee Sheridan, Kathy Fagan, Betty White, people that had been, to me, leaders in this community, political leaders for so long. And I'm looking at them saying, what are you talking about? I'm not running for anything. So it's definitely, elected office is something that I guess I've come to find myself a little bit comfortable in. I think in my heart, I still resonate as a cop because it's the thing I was for so long in my life. But in policing, and for the 7 years, and I just, this past Friday, taught my last class. I've been a teaching consultant for the state now since I retired. It's something that I did for over 30 years up until I pretty much stopped teaching for the 9.5 years I was chief, but I went back reluctantly, not thinking that I would really be able to contribute, and have had the most humbling 7 years across the state. I teach new sergeants at leadership school to new sergeants, and I taught my final class on, at least I think my final class on Friday, and one of the things I said to them is, and I relate this very much in my life from the experiences of others. I quoted a Catholic priest, a famous Irish Catholic priest from Dorchester named Father Dan Finn. You know who he is. He's currently the chaplain of the Irish Pastoral Center in Dorchester. But Father Finn is, anyone from Dorchester knows, he's a legend in his priestly life, but his homilies are very famous. And he concluded at this Mass on Thursday, and he was talking about one of the greatest treasures we receive in life is the gift of faith. And I guess to me, I've always had faith in others and faith in the goodness of people, even though in policing you're around a lot of bad stuff. Right. You're mostly in your police career, and for most cops, and in the biggest of cities and the smallest of towns today, when they come into someone's life, it's often on their worst day. But you can get through that, and I think that in this recent campaign, and as you know, you were there with me, this was a very hard 5 months. We worked our butts off. If you have faith in the people around you and you have faith in the goodness of people, often you'll prevail. I think very much in life, you get what you give, and if you look at life like as a giver more than a taker, then you'll have more good days than bad days.
We'll get to the campaign, but as I mentioned at the outset of our show, many folks in town, not just in town, but throughout the area, still refer to you as Chief, and you talked about your service. Do you miss it? Do you miss being out there?
I find that very humbling. It's funny, my dad was chief.
Right.
I'm one of only a very few. It's a select number in the Commonwealth in the history of policing in Massachusetts, where a father and son have both served in the same police department as chiefs. I would say very much like my father. When I came on the job, I never even dreamt of being. I just wanted to. I can't remember what I wanted, but right. But one of the things my father told me when I was first promoted to the rank, and he pinned me, he was retired then, was don't let anyone call you by your first name. In work, in work. He said, even your best friends who you like, because when you spend 20, 30 years with the same people all the time, right. Some of them were then and still are today people who I cherish dearly. And I remember saying that at my first staff meeting, and not thinking, not in an egotistical way. He said it to me, because anyone who knew my father, he would have never. I can only imagine in heaven what he's thinking, looking at me doing this, saying, OMG. But he said it to me in a way, and I remember John Cronin reiterating that to me once, shortly after I became chief. He said, you represented office. And so I never expected that all these years later, so many people still refer to me as chief. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big title person, but I am comfortable with that because it reminds me of a profession that I have an immense love for. Right. And when you're a leader, in any sense of the form, in any role in this world, when you're a leader has to know how to love, and not in like the romantic way a husband or a wife or partners love each other or family love each other, but you have to have a love for the work that the people do. And in public service, I can honestly say that I have an immense love for what they do.
So you retire in 2016 as chief. Then you decide to not go to a tropical island or sit on your boat. You decide to stay in town and run for select board, and you're elected in 2017, and now you're serving your
eighth year,
middle of third term, second as chair. What was it going from knocking on doors as a police officer for, as you mentioned, sometimes not for a good thing, and then knocking on doors to ask people to vote for you? Talk about that transition. So
my first campaign chair and my dear friend, Linda Lee Sheridan, said to me, you have to knock doors. And I'm like, I'm not knocking doors. Everybody knows me. I don't need to knock doors. And she was the first one to say it to me. Kathy Fagan right after that, and so many others. Like, I could still hear Jim Mullen tell me, you're knocking doors. And even through this campaign, is everyone from Linda Lee, Margaret LaForest, a co-chair, Diane Morad at the end, like, if you're not knocking doors, you're not getting votes. Because when you knock doors, you're going to ask people to vote for you. And I can honestly say it's one of the hardest things and most uncomfortable things you'll ever do, because you're knocking on a door, as you saw, and particularly when we were in Randolph. It was much easier in Milton. I knew many people. In Randolph was the first time we'd ever knocked there. And you're knocking on doors and you're asking people to vote for you. And they've got 30 seconds to hear from you and 30 seconds to make a decision whether or not to trust you. You can't hope that everyone's going to like you. You're not going to, everyone's always going to support you, but it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. But fortunately, I think for me, when not that I reflect on it very often, when I do reflect on this, and I think mostly around the people around me and the people, particularly in this town, the elected leaders that have served in this town, both at every level, the local level, the state level. I mean, going back to when I was a kid, and all the kids in my neighborhood, we lived next door to Joe Manning on Pierce Street. And every kid in our street would go out and hang bumper stickers for him.
Right.
Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think about doing something like this. But you talk about the boat and the river. I tease people off on the last meeting. It was like, God will show me that beach chair on the sand with the drink in it, with the umbrella in it. He'll let me visit it.
Not ready yet.
He just won't let me sit in it
Right.
for long. So, but that's the one thing that my dad definitely instilled in me, and I did not do it. Like, I was not a good student. Like, I bringing home report card days, first at St. Agatha's, then at Milton High School, then at Cunningham Junior, then at Milton High School,
Right.
was always a struggle for me. And my father was always about put forth best effort. And I'm definitely not the smartest one in the room, but I'm not one who wants to really waste time. Every minute in life is a precious moment. And the only guarantee we have is today. There's no guarantee for tomorrow.
For sure. Now, in your third term, middle of the third term, you've seen a lot as a member of the Select Board. You were the first chair to oversee the 5-member board, a COVID-19 pandemic, MBTA fight, and other battles I'm sure we'll get to. A lot of folks say that Milton is a divided town. Do you believe it? Do you believe Milton's a divided town? And if so, what can we do to bridge the divide and bring this town back to a united group as we perhaps once were?
I don't like to use the word divided. We are definitely living in a time in history where, to find the relationships, and I'm going to go to political relationships, but to find the relationships politically that existed between, people like President Ronald Reagan and Speaker of the House Tip O'Neill, right. Senator Kennedy and Senator McCain, those kinds of relationships. That's important. To succeed in anything, you need diversity, and I don't mean just diversity of look or social make. You need diversity of thought. One of the things in my leadership class at the police academy, my teaching partner and I, he's a retired lieutenant from Walpole, Mass, is that when we first started to teach it, we wanted a diversity of police departments. So we wanted some that were bigger, some that were smaller, some that were urban, some that were rural, because we wanted diversity of thought. Because the issues facing a cop in Milton, Massachusetts, at 2 o'clock in the morning, will be completely different than a cop patrolling out in Hamden County and like Gill, Massachusetts, or someone who's on the island. It's totally different. So I think that, at least for me, I understand that it's there, but I always will say that the one commonality amongst all of us is that we're human beings, and that if we can find consensus, we may not get it all the time, right. But if we can find ways to agree on things, then usually you'll do better. I think that if people will listen to one another, sometimes they have a better chance of coming to a positive conclusion, because 0-186 is ours in this community. 0-186 is the commonality amongst us, and we all moved here for a reason, whether it was last week or you're in your 5th generation, and everyone has something to contribute. But I just believe that, and I know there are people who dislike. I know that politics can be mean. People can say and do really mean things. That's fine. Anyone who's around me personally, and my wife Pauline, both of us know that paying it forward is very important in life.
For sure. Let's fast forward to this spring. Senator Timilty announces he's not going to run for the Senate. He's going to run for his father's position, Norfolk County Clerk of Courts. Rep. Driscoll takes a week and decides that he's going to run for Senator Timilty's seat, which then allows his House seat to be vacated. Talk us through the process of jumping in and running for this state representative seat.
So as I said previously, I clearly, and I've said it I think in every political event we've been at in the past 5 months, I never even thought of, I had a year and a half left on my select board term. I don't think I would be running for a 4th term then. I think 3 terms on the board is more than enough for to people to contribute, and
9 years.
And yeah, it's a lot. Katie did 9, and she committed so much of her life. She did 9. Well,
Right.
Mrs. McGettrick did 9. Mr. Joe McGettrick did 9. There are a lot of people here that did 9 years, gave a lot of their time and life to the citizens of this town being a select board's a tough job. People don't. If you think you're just going to walk in and go to meetings, you can do that. But if you really want to make an effect, you better roll up your sleeves. And I remember the first time I ever said that at a meeting, Katie Conlon grinned and laughed, because I'll be honest with you, of all the colleagues I've ever worked with, I don't think anybody worked harder than she did. She really works hard. She's very committed to this town. She dives in head first. So it was actually Bill Driscoll who asked me. And I'll be honest with you, it didn't even, when he said it to me, Paul and I were in Florida, and I was like, what? And then it just kind of took off from there. And it was scary when I said yes. It was scary when they told me how much money I had to raise. It was scary when, how are people going to, maybe I'm too old, and next thing I knew, it was me, and we were off and running.
And there we go. You prevailed on September 3rd in the primary over 2 gentlemen. What was it like campaigning in the dead of summer? Obviously, Milton is a big Cape community. A lot of people go down the Cape. But there you are, knocking doors in the heat of the summer, the day after Labor Day, rather, when the election was to be held. Was it a long summer for you, being out there?
I lost 22 pounds knocking doors. It was. I mean, knowing the dynamic of this community, that after the 4th of July, it pretty much empties. And even Randolph, significant part of Randolph was the same thing. So you're knocking on a lot of doors, you're leaving a lot of voice messages at Ring cameras, you're having fundraisers, you're trying to make yourself amenable at events that whatever community events you can be at, especially in Randolph, because people didn't really know me there.
Right.
And Chris Alexopoulos, who's the town council, who was running from there, is very well known. His father, who just passed, was president of the council. His mother on the point of, very well known name. I hate to use the word Bill Belichick, but I think we had no days off. I think the only thing that other than, as you know, I work out in Idaho every July, other than my traveling to Idaho, and then 2 days for to work the Pan Mass Challenge at Mass Maritime in August. It was nonstop the whole summer, except Sundays. I'm not knocking.
Sundays, yeah.
I won't knock on doors. I will not knock on anyone's door on a Sunday.
Right.
I'm not doing that. Everyone deserves to have a day off, and I'm giving it to them. They didn't need to hear from me.
I'm sure they appreciated that, and your team too.
Yeah, I know.
Let's talk about Randolph a little bit. You mentioned it. You're a Milton guy. You've been here your whole life. When you ran for select board, obviously it's the Milton job. Now you incorporate Randolph in this. What was that like? You talked a little bit about it, but Randolph is a bigger population than Milton, has more commercial development. The similarities and differences between the 2 communities that now you're representing at the State House.
So the similarities are, it's very blue collar, very hardworking. It is way more commercial than the whole 28 corridor is commercial.
Drive by, it's huge.
Yeah, they have their challenges as well. They have their challenges in public education. They have their challenges in housing. They have the similar challenges. They're very diverse. They're, I believe, 13% Vietnamese and about the same, a little bit more Haitian American. But they have a lot of things there that really impressed me, that just, they still have like a really big Elks, club, and people go there, and they have an AMVETS where their veterans are very, very active.
Right.
And as you know, you came with me on this most recent day. They have Veterans Day bread. They're very, and those are things that I think are important to all of us. People often know that I speak on the father of a Marine Corps veteran. My daughter Erin is a veteran of the Marine Corps, veteran of the war in Iraq.
Right.
And I love to see that. They use that intergenerational center really is a great, I mean, they have some great, I love some of the community events that they have. I love our community events as well. Like I'm always looking at other, but I was impressed with much of that. They don't have a local newspaper, you know, they don't have a mill, things like that. That's a big difference, you know, how do you get information out to the residents? They have a town council, which is totally different than the governmental makeup here. So here we have a 5-person board, we have a strong town manager, a strong town administrator. Right. They have a strong town manager who runs everything, and they have a town council, which that's it. There's no subcommittees. There's no town meeting. They are the deciding executive body. Right. So but they face the same challenge, like traffic and housing and traffic congestion is a major issue in this region. People will talk about it, they'll complain about it, but I don't think they really understand it. I've often made the analogy. So this building, we're in the old Milton High School.
Right.
This is where I went to high school. Mm-hmm. The only parking lot this high school had is that little teeny high school, that little parking lot right here at the corner of Lincoln and Brook Road. Right. That was it. That's how few cars we used to go to high school. Look at the high school today. So look at I grew up in a house, we had one car. Right. Today, you know, those houses might have 5 cars. Mm-hmm. So you think about the incremental, and we're a highly mobile society. We move, you know, like, I love to use the analogy that, like, my father's from Dorchester. My mother's parents were from Ireland, and they bought a house right here on Warren Ave. So that generation, my father would always was a big deal to go to, like, Nantasket Beach. Right. To win. My generation was to go to the Cape and go over the Cape Cod Canal. That wasn't big. My oldest daughter's Erin and March, would be like to go to Disney. In today's generation, these kids are going all over the world. Right. They're going. Molly's leaving for London. She's at Syracuse. She's going to London in a month for, like, just. I don't think I flew on a plane until I was in my third. I don't know, probably in my 20s, but it was not. I never flew on a plane as a kid. So that's, and so we're highly mobile, and the congestion and the traffic. I do worry. I understand the housing crisis. I understand that, but one of the things that I see particularly from traveling the state, is there are definitely pockets in the state that really could benefit from an uptick in industry, an uptick in technology, an uptick in employment jobs, and in that housing in those areas. Because is anyone who stands in Milton or Randolph on 28 Granite Ave, 138, I listen to and looks at the day-to-day traffic there. It's beyond significant.
It is.
It's beyond significant. And how much can you continue to add before you can't move it all anymore? Right. We use trains and boats and I
bikes.
think, but it's still, the congestion problem doesn't go away.
Right. As you know, I live right off Granite Ave.
Right there, you see it.
We often say we can't get out of our street on a good day, let alone, during the week. So.
It's true.
Anyway, in the last few minutes here, I want to talk to you about your priorities and your goals ahead as you get ready to take this new position on in a few short weeks here, as you get sworn in on New Year's Day, by the way, on January 1st, which is very exciting. Any particular committee you want to serve on? And what are your short-term, long-term? And you only get obviously two-year term, so it's a quick turnaround.
So I expect I'm probably going to wind up on public safety, which I'm very comfortable with that. We're at a time in policing when we're what we call the post world now, the police officer standards. I'm sure everyone's read the recent story in the news about officers cheating and they're in service, and just that public safety definitely has some challenges, and I think that's something, it's already been suggested to me. I'm hoping that when I do meet with the speaker on my committee selections, that's one that I do on. The other two, one is I clearly care about the environment and coastal change, things of that nature. There is a natural resource committee. I currently chair the Neponset River Committee. The Blue Hills Reservation, is a significant part of Milton and also big piece of Randolph. That committee as well. And then there's a committee, the Technology TUE committee. I probably won't get that, but that will be one. You get three. I've been told you get three picks. You get the three. I asked for three. Those would be the three. But I mean, in the long term, in a short stint, this is a job you have to learn. You're going to learn by listening. I don't intend to walk in there. I'm going there at my age, but as a freshman, I'm going to have to listen. Even though I've already met so many reps and staff already. They've been great, as you know. I mean, is to do whatever I can to enhance the quality of life for the residents of 7th Norfolk District. And to do that, you have to work and you have to have collaboration. I think the one strength that we take in this, going into this, is the collaborations and the partnerships that already exist. Like I'm fortunate that, the relationships I have here in town, but already the relationships that I've made in Randolph. Brian Howard, the town manager there, is great. Like he's in tune with that town, and he really has his finger on, and he works really hard. And, as you saw him as much this summer as I did. He takes part. He's at everything. So I think the first thing that I'll do is to listen. And there are already a couple of things we're working on here. One is we have an application in Milton. We have an application for MSBA right now that's going to be decided in the next week or two. And I've used my voice, especially in the past few weeks, to advocate as strong as I can as to why we need this in Milton, why we need to be funded for this, and things like that. Those are issues that affect people's quality of life. People move into a community, they make a home in a community because majority of the time they care about it and they want to have a positive quality of life.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of looming decisions here in the town, as mentioned, with the schools and obviously with the court case as well with the MBTA. We don't have enough time to talk about that, but
you got another hour?
Yeah, I wish we would need it. But the final few minutes here of the show, you just came off the campaign trail again. A successful victory. What's your message now to the folks that voted for you, didn't vote for you, who didn't vote at all? Now you're their representative. What's your message to them as you start this new journey?
So I think that my message probably won't be any different. And I quote my dear friend Kathy Fagan, who's been beside me for so long, who always says to me, "Richard, you're so good at constituency, getting back to people." And I just say the same thing, reach out. If you have an issue, reach out to us, bring it to us. Stay involved in your government. Stay involved in it's easy to sit and be a Monday morning quarterback in an armchair and, pardon my language, bitch about things, but it's another thing to roll up your sleeves and be part of the solution. So I'm not saying The Wizard of Oz was a movie, and I'm not the wizard, but we do listen. Whatever we can try to do, whether it's the smallest problem or the biggest problem, we'll listen. We'll try to do whatever we can to make sure that your worst day doesn't happen, and that we try to make a better day for you, whatever the problem is.
For sure. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for joining us. And
thanks for having me.
You have a lot of great things to look forward to, and you're staying on, too, as chair of the select. That question came up a lot, right? That came up a lot?
That was definitely...
You're going to stay on?
I am.
On the board?
I will stay on the board. I've enjoyed being on the board. And for something I never thought I would, but people in town hall do a lot of good work.
They do.
And a lot of times people don't realize that, and maybe they go there to pay a bill or tax bill, or they have an issue, or their trash didn't get picked up, or their leaves, whatever it is, or the people who work for this town, including the people in the studio, the Impact people that at Milton Access that staff this studio, they all work hard to make life better. And for me, I'm just lucky that I'm able to see it and understand it, and most importantly, to support it.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you. Come back and see us anytime. You're the first guest.
Thank you. Thanks. Good luck.
At a time, but
good luck going forward.
Well, we look forward to it.
I'm sure you'll do fine.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Well, my friends, you may watch any episode of Conversations on MiltonAccessTV.org or on our MATV YouTube page. For all of us here at Milton Access Television, I'm Kevin Chrisom. Thank you for watching.
Three, two, one.
Here we go!